And we are back. This is another episode of HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Appreciate you for spending some of your Tuesday morning here with me. Let's get into it. We're already running a couple minutes late here. So, last night's game, let's look at it from both angles. First off, the Lions. There was all this talk all off season that what are the Lions going to look like without Ben Johnson and without Aaron Glenn, who both going to get head coaching jobs, right? Aaron Glenn goes to New York Jets, Ben Johnson goes to the Chicago Bears, and it turned into a very popular / unfortunately lazy take to go, you know what, the Lions just aren't going to be that good anymore. They lost both their coordinators. This was a Dan Campbell victory lap. At a certain point, now we know coordinators matter. They do. We're not going to act like coaching doesn't matter. We're not going to like coordinators don't matter. But at a certain point, you are your head coach. You are not your coordinators. Dan Campbell showed last night he has entered into the level of head coaches that where his teams are not going to be reflective of his coordinators. They are reflective of him. Yes, Bill Belichick had Josh McDaniels. Great. The New England Patriots were a reflection of Bill Belichick. Andy Reid, yes, has had great coordinators, but his Eagles and his Chiefs teams have been reflections of him. When you are a head coach you're respected, you've shown the success, when you've done everything that Dan has done, they're looking at his wins last night. Every year since he's been there, he got 3 wins, he got 9 wins, he got 12 wins, and he got 15 wins. Yes, does it help when you have Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? Absolutely. But you know what great head coaches do? Great head coaches find a way to get more good coordinators. All the talk was, oh my gosh, how do you replace Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? Well, Kelvin Shepard was doing a really great job last night on defense. Not saying Aaron Glenn wasn't a great defense coordinator, but Kelvin Shepard did a great job. The new OC that replaced Ben Johnson, 52 points last week, 38 points last night, 90 points in a 2-game stretch. It's pretty good. I understand Ben Johnson was really good too, but you score 90 points in 2 games. That team is a reflection of Dan Campbell, and as long as he's there, that team is going to be fine. Yes, is it awesome when you've got these great coordinators? 1,000%. Will not deny it. Does Kevin O'Connell, helped by the fact he has Brian Flores as a DC? 1,000%. Do I think the Vikings would drop off a cliff if they lost Brian Flores as their DC, who might get hired as a head coach again? No. Because Kevin O'Connell, that program, that system, the imprint he has laid out as a head coach, Dan Campbell deserves his respect. Everybody was waiting to, again, this is one of our reasons why when we question Nick Sirianni with the Eagles, because he became the blueprint, right? It was Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. They were great. They go to a Super Bowl. They lose both their coordinators. And then we get that really weird stretch at the end of the season. They lose in the playoffs to the Bucs. And we're like, oh, losing both your coordinators is tough. Nick Sirianni, I don't think is the head coach that Dan Campbell is. As long as Dan Campbell is there. And yes, the Lions clearly have talent. But they had this talent when people were predicting they were going to fall off because of the lack of coordinators. You still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You still got both those running backs, Gibbs and Montgomery. You still got an offensive line who, Dan Campbell, that's where that toughness, that even though, yes, they lost due to retirement and free agency, their offensive line is not quite as good as it was last year. But that toughness, the ability to adjust, the things that make Dan Campbell, you can tell that's a Dan Campbell coached football team. You can tell that guy, that team, they look like their head coach. They are a reflection of what their coach wants to do. So Dan Campbell, all you can do is clap it up. Hey, man, that's a great head coach. That's a great football team. The Lions are still the best team in that division. It is what it is. So, moving over to the other side. Now, I've compared Lamar and Steph a bunch. They both do these things that only they can do. It's true. They're doing stuff that only they can do. When it comes to that, though, like Lamar can run back behind the line of scrimmage 5-10 yards and then break out and turn into a 10-15 yard run. Steph, obviously, 35-40 footers. These are things that previously would have gotten you benched, would have gotten you off the team. We all know the routine, right? Like, they do stuff because they're so unique and special that only they can get away with. And that's an admirable skill. That is a special skill. It's what makes them great. But what also makes you great does have a way that it can backfire. And last night it felt like the backfire. Steph can just shoot you into a game, or shoot you back into a game, or run away from you doing it. He can have a 10 for 17 night, and you're like, all right, well, it's Steph. What are you going to do to him? He also has 0 for 10s. And that's what Lamar was last night. And not saying that Lamar played horrible, or Lamar was terrible, or, oh my gosh, Lamar's one of the greatest. They were showing all his stats on Monday night, and he still had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he's one of the greatest Monday night quarterbacks ever. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But there was a lot of, post that first quarter especially, Lamar trying to run around, trying to make something special happen, and the Lions got 7 sacks on him, which is insane when you think about sacking Lamar Jackson 7 times. But you could just see him trying to pull out that special again and again, and it just wasn't working. And I'm not going to overreact to it. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, the Lions figured him out. I'm not going to say, wow, what's he going to do when he plays other teams? Sometimes Steph goes 0 for 10. Steph has clunkers. He's the greatest shooter ever. It's undisputed. Lamar Jackson's the greatest running quarterback ever. It's undisputed. And some nights it just doesn't work out. Some nights that thing that makes you so special that we all know. Lamar next week when they play the Chiefs, which is now a very interesting game. Obviously, both teams 1-2. He might have one of those 4 or 5 touchdowns. He's running around making all these special plays, and I'm not going to be surprised whatsoever. Again, sometimes I compare Lamar, Steph, the ability to move around, make some of those dynamic plays. Steph, the greatest shooter ever. The ability to take shots that would get other people benched. They both have special in them. They both have the ability to be so uniquely talented and great. And I'm not going to overreact to one game. Yes, did Kelvin Shepherd have a great game plan? 1,000%. Do I also think Lamar it just didn't work out last night? And that's fine. That's going to happen. You're going to have a handful of those games throughout your career. And you accept them because you get the level of greatness on the other side that you're like, oh, I can't replicate this any other way. This is the best. Yeah. So I'm not going to overreact to Lamar. Obviously, that Chiefs game again, they're both 1-2. That's going to become a huge game. But sometimes you're just 0-10. Like, Steph has bad shooting nights. Lamar had a bad running night. He was the ability to be that super special all-time athlete. Just didn't work last night. I mean, if you want to be a part of one of the coolest, most unique communities, don't forget to like and subscribe.